It's 5 o'clock. This check of the time brought to you by Big O Tires, the team you trust.
Hey there, I'm Catalina Villegas, and this is your Spectrum News 1 update. The U.S. has now surpassed more than 12 million confirmed coronavirus cases. As of Saturday, over 255,000 people have died, according to Johns Hopkins University. Experts firmly warn to spend the holidays at home to limit the spread and exposure. And NASA launched a satellite the size of a pickup truck into space. It took off from the Vandenberg Air Force Base here in Central California. NASA says it will monitor global sea levels. The satellite will stay in orbit for the next 5.5 years. The data scientists gather will help with weather forecasting, monitoring hurricanes, and tracking the effects of climate change. And virtual adoption ceremonies were held Saturday as part of the National Adoption Day for 149 LA County foster children who have found forever homes. 92 families participated in the event. Isn't that wonderful? That's your Spectrum News 1 update. Ahead on your weekend, protesters in Huntington Beach rally against California's new coronavirus curfew. They say they want their freedom, but at what cost? And then, with COVID-19 hospitalizations on the rise again, nurses in our area are hitting a breaking point. Why one of them says she is scared. Plus, many families are planning to get together for Turkey Day next week despite the pandemic. We'll discuss how to stay safe this Thanksgiving. Welcome to your weekend on Spectrum News 1. I'm Catalina Villegas. Saturday evenings are for getting to the heart of the issues that affect you the most. Leading tonight's show, a COVID curfew. Tonight, a statewide curfew goes into effect for all counties currently in the purple tier. LA County has been under even more strict rules since Friday night. LA County reaches a new record high for positive cases as well in a single day, with more than 5,000 cases and over 1,200 hospitalizations. The biggest change for LA County, all non-essential establishments, including restaurants and bars, must close from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. The state curfew is until 5 a.m. Also, all non-essential businesses permitted to operate indoors will be limited to 25% capacity. Services at personal care establishments must now only provide services to customers with appointments and if they have the ability to wear masks. For example, facials, well, they're no longer allowed. Businesses operating outdoors, specifically restaurants, breweries, wineries, and bars, also must limit their outdoor capacity to 50%. Personal outdoor gatherings are permitted but must be limited to a maximum of 15 people, and they must all be members of no more than 3 households. Social distancing and wearing masks, of course, is always needed. Pivoting now to Orange County, where California's limited statewide curfew is going into effect tonight at 10 p.m. Again, all California counties in the purple tier will be under this curfew, including the OC, which slid back into the purple this week. Jada Montromano is in Huntington Beach now, where a protest against this curfew is set for tonight. Hey, Jada, what's the latest out there?
So it is a lively scene here right now, playing music, people enjoying the beach, but this will also be the scene of that Curfew Breakers event happening at 10:01 tonight, where people are asked to come out and defy that curfew. Now, if you take a look behind me, some people already have shown up to get ready for that event. It's the Recall Gavin Newsom group. They have their Trump flags. This is actually the group that is helping propel that defying order starting tonight. So they're here and they're ready for people to show up.
Mama D is enjoying a beautiful afternoon in Westminster, preparing for a night of demonstration. She's part of the group petitioning to recall Governor Gavin Newsom, which she joined when she lost her job due to the pandemic.
We've had enough.
She feels he has too much control over the people and wants it to stop. That's why she's attending the Huntington Beach Curfew Breakers event, where all are welcome to gather at 10:01 p.m. to show defiance against the new Safer at Home order, where all non-essential Californians must be home from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m.
You're not going to take away my rights. If I want to walk my dogs or I want to take a stroll between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m., that is my choice because I'm a United States citizen.
Mama D feels businesses are suffering and these closures will only make it worse, saying a curfew won't stop the spread of COVID.
COVID must be really, really smart that it comes out after 10 o'clock and it stays out until 5.
But Dr. Bruce Holmblad, president of the Riverside County Medical Association and cardiac anesthesiologist at Riverside Community Hospital, disagrees. He says the main benefit of a curfew is to stop people from gathering while drinking at night, which could lead to a spread.
When alcohol is mixed with a large social gathering, people's inhibitions do go down, and we are concerned about that. That's how asymptomatic spread may be happening.
He knows everyone wants to go back to normal and are tired of these rules, but he says we must stay vigilant or the cases and hospitalizations will just get worse.
But I'm looking forward to being able to travel again. The pandemic fatigue is real. We realize people are really trying out there. But we just ask, please socially distance, please wear a mask so that we can all come through this safely, so that we can get the vaccines and get our lives back to normal.
Mama D says she knows many people who have had COVID and recovered, so she's not saying it doesn't exist. She just wants her freedom back.
I don't believe that COVID is a hoax, but I do believe that a lot of this has been completely blown out of proportion.
So she'll be demonstrating her rights while breaking curfew.
This is not the only location of that curfew breakers event happening tonight. It's kind of all around SoCal. San Clemente, Beverly Hills, a bunch of different places will be gathering tonight again at 10:01.
Jada, and what do these folks hope to accomplish with this protest specifically?
So the Recall Governor Gavin Newsom group actually has a petition to recall the governor. So that's their main message all year round. And tonight they want to talk about that, but also show that they do not want to be controlled anymore. They do not believe in this curfew. They do not think it is helping, and they want to spread that message so everyone can see, especially those government officials making these restrictions.
Thank you so much, Jada. Really appreciate it. Now, restrictions could increase even more if cases continue to rise. Let's take a look at LA County, for example. If the 5-day average of cases in the county increases to 4,000 or more cases, with hospitalizations of more than 1,750 per day, outdoor and indoor dining at restaurants, breweries, wineries, and bars will be prohibited. That means they will need to go back to pickup and delivery only. Then, if the 5-day average of cases in the county reaches 4,500 or more, with hospitalizations of more than 2,000 a day, a stay-at-home order will go into effect for everyone except essential workers for 3 weeks. That order would only allow essential workers to leave their homes. A curfew would be in place for everyone from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Again, these further restrictions are possible if cases go up on Sunday for a 5th day in a row, and we'll continue to bring you the latest updates at both the county and state level throughout the evening and into Sunday. Now, on the front lines of all of this, of course, are the nurses that have been taking care of the sick since the moment the pandemic started. This week, I went to speak to one of them as she was getting off work to hear her perspective on this latest COVID surge.
El Carrizo Park in Sylmar is where Wendy Macedo comes to cure her stress.
At the beginning of the year, I started gaining weight, and so I knew I had to get out of my house and do something about it, which is why I come here.
She just got off a 12-hour graveyard shift at UCLA's medical center taking care of COVID patients, and the anxiety of being face-to-face with the virus every day is taking a toll.
I've also started getting more white hairs. I just didn't think that it would get to this point.
Wendy thought by now we would have the pandemic under control, but instead we're setting daily COVID records at the local, state, and national level.
We already started to see an increase in our unit. The amount of positive patients that were coming just last night was double, if not almost triple, what it was last week.
She says people are getting complacent.
I have a patient, and I had asked him, how did you get sick? And he said, I got it at my office because some lady came in, she was sick. She basically got 8 of those people in that office sick. 8 of those people ended up in the hospital, himself included.
The virus has also impacted her personally. One of her family members has tested positive.
Honestly, it makes me feel scared. It really scares me to think, we're already at a surge now. The numbers are already increasing. But even then, I mean, some people might not listen.
And just as she says that, we see a group of more than a dozen maskless teenagers exercising.
Nobody's wearing a mask. It gets frustrating. This is very frustrating.
That's why Wendy is begging people to stay home this holiday season, to skip the gatherings, to think of the frontline workers like her that have had to sacrifice time with their own families to take care of the surging patients.
It's going to be a sad holiday for sure. I'm not looking forward to this Thanksgiving. I'm going to actually be working this year.
It'll be the first Thanksgiving she spends at work and away from her mother.
I don't think I've hugged her in months. It's heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking that 9 months into this pandemic, Wendy and other frontline workers will be with a growing number of sick and dying patients instead of their families.
Clearly, this is an uphill battle for these first responders. Joining us now to discuss this dire stage of the pandemic is Dr. Robert Levin, Ventura County's Public Health Director. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We were just looking at these images of people celebrating after what was the Lakers victory. Of course, the Dodgers victories. We saw also BLM, a lot of protests. There were a lot of people on the streets, sometimes maskless, gathering. These gatherings were just so large. And so we're seeing spikes after these large gatherings. It's kind of expected. And we've seen the number of people that are trying to get tested has also dramatically increased. Well, wait times used to be maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Now some people are waiting upwards of an hour and a half to get tested, sometimes in Ventura County. So how is your office trying to address these growing wait times?
Well, we have seen growing wait times. In Moore Park, where we saw one of the biggest increases, we've increased the lanes there from 3 to 5. And we're waiting for the trained personnel to increase it even further to 6. At the fairgrounds, where I was tested, and it took me about 12 minutes to be tested there a few days ago, 5 days ago, is we're adding stations there, and we're looking at the efficiency. And it's hard for me to believe that they can make it more efficient, but they found ways of making it even more efficient of getting people through. Flow has improved overall in our county, but the volume has increased dramatically. And that 6,000 that we tested yesterday is equal to exactly what we tested 4 weeks ago in an entire week. So we're converting several other test sites from 5 days a week to 7 days a week. So we can accomplish all this because we have a designated testing czar in our county. And we get all of the resources that we ask for more testing, from our Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, it is incredible, just a number of people trying to get tested right now, of course, right before the holidays. So, Doctor, if you could leave our viewers with some recommendations for this Thanksgiving holiday that is coming up, what would those be?
Well, let's imagine what your Thanksgiving is going to be like. It's going to be different this year. That's the reality of things. It can't be the same as usual. But I think the state has done its best to make some accommodations to balance that with the reality of today. And so we want the meal to be served outdoors. We would like to see it 2 hours or less in length. We'd like to see no more than 3 households at any one site. We want people to be wearing masks, and members from different households, of the 3 households, but when they're from different households, staying 6 feet apart from each other. And then when it comes to the surface of the meal, it should be either one person bringing the food around and serving everyone, or one person at a station and having one person at a time coming up to that station and having their plate filled.
Dr. Robert Levin, Director of Ventura County's Public Health Department, thank you so much for your tireless work and service during this pandemic.
Well, thank you very much for helping us communicate with everyone. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Happy Saturday, everyone. It's been pretty nice to start off our weekend. We noticed more cloud cover yesterday, and once again today, these high clouds continuing to stream through. Notice the camera shaking back and forth a little bit. It is breezy in some spots out there as well. Earlier on this morning through the afternoon, see Porter Ranch saw a gust just under 40 miles an hour, Rialto and Newhall Pass in the 30-mile-per-hour range, and then Cajon Pass, San Bernardino, and Simi Valley also some stronger gusts earlier on today. Notice though our temperatures feeling still a little bit warmer, up a few degrees from yesterday, about 5 degrees here in Corona, 3 in Riverside. So as we take a look at our temperatures, they've been above average the last couple of days, but heading into tomorrow, we're going to see them drop off just a little bit, although they still will be above average for most of us. So as we head into our highs tomorrow, Santa Clarita goes to 79, Simi Valley upper 70s, as well as Van Nuys. So still plenty of 70s out through the San Fernando Valley, down towards the LA County coast here, upper 60s. Further inland, downtown LA will go to 73. So still pretty cool along the coastline, the 60s, but further inland, we're going to be seeing plenty of 70s across the area. Pomona goes to 77 tomorrow, 77 also in Fontana. Big Bear Lake just under 60 degrees, so upper 50s in some of our mountain spots there. And then down towards the south, Mission Viejo goes to 73. Riverside and Chino just under 80 degrees, so a little bit warmer in some of those spots. Lake Elsinore also in the upper 70s. Temecula goes to the mid 70s and 60s down in Vista. So temperatures continuing to cool, a little bit of a roller coaster ride with our temperatures. We're going to talk about that coming up.
Coming up, what started off as a matter of when has now become a matter of if. See how parents are rallying for kids to get back in the classroom and on the field. Plus, the pandemic is affecting travel plans and study plans. Coming up, why one college senior is delaying his graduation. And if you have a story idea or even just a comment for us, please reach out. Email us at lanewsdesk@charter.com. You can also visit us on social media via the handles on your screen.
At Spectrum News, we're striving to help rebuild communities by bringing you the latest news from your team of local journalists. Stories that matter to you, now, wherever you are. Introducing the new Spectrum News app. Refreshing storytelling, at home or on the go, exclusively for Spectrum customers. All easily accessible with the touch of a finger. Providing the information you need to make better, more informed decisions across the places we call home. Download the all-new Spectrum News app, available on the App Store and Google Play. Spectrum News, your community connection.
Since becoming a pilot, my favorite place to fly is Southern California because Los Angeles is gigantic, it's huge. But when I start to fly, the higher I get, the smaller the area gets. There are small communities within that large area. And when you have a channel like Spectrum News 1 who cares about these communities, that's special, that's different, and that's something I'm proud to be a part of. I'm Chris Leary, anchor, Spectrum News 1.
For more than a century, the LA Times has been keeping you in the know. Now, Spectrum News 1 brings their paper to your screen. Introducing LA Times Today, giving some of the best reporters in the world a new platform to share their stories and issues that matter to Southern Californians. LA Times Today with Lisa McCree, weeknights at 7 p.m., exclusively on Spectrum.
Your evening on Spectrum News 1 is the way news should be. I grew up in California, so a lot of my weather expertise is about California. Your evening news is unique. It's going to be different than what you see elsewhere. We cover stories that impact you and your community. We all have different personalities and different experiences with where we've been in journalism, and so bringing that all together is really fun. Let us be a part of your evening every weeknight on Spectrum News 1.
Introducing the new Spectrum News app. Stories that matter to you, now wherever you are. Download the all-new Spectrum News app, your community connection.
This surge in COVID-19 cases has real-life implications. It means that it's unlikely students will fully return to in-person learning or sports activities anytime soon. In fact, San Bernardino schools announced they're going to stay virtual for the rest of the year. But a group of mothers in Manhattan Beach are concerned about what their kids are missing because of distance learning. Our Zach Tawatari has the story.
As cases continue to surge, the question remains whether or not in-person classes and sports activities will resume at all. I'm Zach Tawatari in Manhattan Beach at Pollywog Park, where parents are rallying for kids to get back in the classroom and on the field. For parents, the pandemic has presented many challenges with few options. Jenny McDonald, Molly Balmer, and Elizabeth Dumont are a group of South Bay moms whose kids are both high school students and athletes. They say being confined to distance learning is becoming more and more challenging.
It's hard. I mean, you're looking at kids, my kids specifically, inside their rooms 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day.
On Wednesday, they joined other parents at Pollywog Park in Manhattan Beach to rally for the safe opening of schools and sports activities. LA County remains in California's most restrictive purple tier, meaning that most campuses can't reopen for in-person classes.
But we had that hope that we would be back in school, and that just keeps getting dashed month by month by month.
And the effects of the prolonged absence of being in person can have increased detrimental effects to developing kids of all ages, says Manhattan Beach psychiatrist Dr. Martha Koo, who was invited to speak at the rally. Even with the numbers surging, she says that mental health cannot be overlooked in the equation of returning to school or sports.
We've seen increased depression, we've seen increased anxiety, substance abuse, across the board in terms of all ages. And so I think now that we're here in another surge, we shouldn't have the same thinking that we did 8 months ago.
For these moms who all have kids playing high school sports, it's unclear what will happen next, with CIF set to return in mid-December as of now. And if a full and safe return to in-person learning and sports activities can't be possible, this group hopes their kids can participate in person at least in some way this school year.
I think everybody is willing to adapt and change according to what is good for everybody, what is safe for everybody. But I think that we are at a point now where the kids need a change.
Hoping to find a safe way back.
Thank you, Zach. Now, to find out what actor Vince Vaughn said at that rally the moms were at and how some students are coping during the pandemic, you can head over to our Spectrum News app. As coronavirus cases continue to rise globally, international travel is in limbo. The CDC is recommending people delay non-essential travel for the foreseeable future. The root of the problem is international travel. It's all but stopped. For those catching a plane, you might want to take a look at the map from the CDC before you pack your bags. All the countries in deep orange level that you see right here, they're considered high risk. That's pretty much all of them. And so they're recommending non-essential travel. Do not travel to those places. There are many ripple effects from all of this, of course, including students trying to study abroad. Here in SoCal, one college senior put off graduation to take advantage of what he thought was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But the pandemic is now affecting his plans. Our Parker Collins has the story.
He's come a long way without ever leaving home. Hector Gonzalez is a Ventura native whose parents didn't graduate high school. As a CSU Channel Islands senior himself, he's never so much as left the state. And the biggest journey of his life is on hold.
It kind of hurts not being to be like, this might not happen.
Hector earned multiple scholarships to study abroad in Japan. Then all exchange partnerships and CSU international programs stopped because of the pandemic. 25 CSU Channel Islands students who were already abroad came home mid-semester as things shut down suddenly. Years of planning totally unraveled. Hector's own plans took shape sophomore year, hearing stories from other students who left the country. Study abroad coordinator Courtney Gross still asks students to share their positive experiences abroad, despite uncertainty.
I always tell students, honestly, that I don't have a crystal ball, and I certainly can't predict what's going to happen.
Hector would have been in Japan now. Stuck at home, he could go ahead and just graduate next semester, but he's picking up an economics minor, which he can finish in Japan, in the hopes of finally going abroad spring 2022.
It's difficult to kind of come to terms with understanding of like, this is still very much a possibility. I mean, it's still up in the air though.
CSU Channel Islands hasn't made a call yet about studying abroad this summer and beyond. The decision will be based on COVID-19 numbers, as well as country-specific details, like is the visa office open to Americans? There is a hidden blessing in putting off his graduation. Hector's parents might get to see an in-person graduation ceremony.
It was a stumbling block, but I think it's something that I could work with, even if it kind of hurt knowing that it was going to be delayed, maybe even just not happen.
He's read a lot of stories as an English major, but living through a pandemic is a brand new tale.
Now, the other part of this is each country has its own rules for accepting travelers. You have to do your research. For instance, in Japan, travel for tourism and most other short-term purposes is still not permitted. However, you can go to Egypt as long as you have a fresh COVID-19 test with a negative result. Up next, a local leader is among those being considered to fill the U.S. Senate seat soon to be vacated by Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. The story coming up.
In these jars show pollution that was either entangled or ingested by marine mammals. I'm Sarah Pila in Laguna Beach, and coming up, I'll tell you about a new report that details the impact that plastic pollution is having on marine mammals and sea turtles in U.S. waters.
But before we go, here's a look out at El Porto, courtesy of Surfline.com.
Your weekend on Spectrum News 1 is going beyond the headlines that you might have seen during the week and telling the stories of the people who are affected by the news.
We have a collection of the best human interest stories, but we're also telling the stories of our community, of you and me.
We bring this really great energy to our reporting and a really fresh perspective to the stories that you see. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Watch us every weekend on Spectrum News 1.
Sundays, Spectrum News 1 presents
In Focus SoCal, where we delve into the issues that impact you and the community you live in.
a half-hour show digging into the issues that impact Southern California. Your city, your issues, your show. In Focus SoCal, Sunday mornings at 9 on Spectrum News 1. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Local politics in Southern California are fascinating because so many people here are passionate about the issues. Issues like health, transportation, the environment, and education, because you care about the future of your family. We know you really care because guess what? We do too. That's why every day we break down the current topics that are important to you. Watch Inside the Issues with me, Alex Cohen, weeknights at 8 on Spectrum News 1, exclusively on Spectrum.
When I'm not at work, you'll find me mostly with this little guy. My rescue dog, I adopted him almost 8 years now. And when I cover stories about animals or children or meaningful entertainment journalism, I'm sure you could hear the passion in my voice. By not just having general assignment reporters, by having reporters at our network that truly hone in and focus on different causes that they care about and grew up loving, that shines in their reporting and really makes it an authentic story for our viewers. I'm Bianca Ray, anchor, Spectrum News 1.
Introducing the new Spectrum News app. At home or on the go, all easily accessible. Download the all-new Spectrum News app, your community connection.
Hey there, I'm Catalina Villegas, and this is your Spectrum News 1 update. The CDC now says most coronavirus infections are spread by people who don't have symptoms. 24% of the spread is from asymptomatic people. About a third is from those who are pre-symptomatic. The CDC says this is why it's so important to wear a mask. And the parents of a 15-year-old girl who was shot and killed by a fellow student at Saugus High School last November are suing the school district, alleging a failure to take basic steps to supervise students on campus. The couple is also suing the coroner's office, saying it released their daughter's name before they could notify friends and family members themselves. And national parks will soon become free for wounded veterans after the Wounded Veterans Recreation Act passed in both the Senate and the House. A proposal to make admission free for Gold Star families is also in the works. That's your Spectrum News 1 update. With Kamala Harris set to assume the role of vice president next year, Governor Gavin Newsom will be responsible for naming her replacement in the U.S. Senate. California has had 44 senators in its 170-year history. All but 3 were white men, and there has never been a Latino senator. Latino leaders are saying it's time for the governor to change that.
Que ya es tiempo, that it's time. Pues, I'm here to say que ya ha sido tiempo. It's been time. There is a need for Latino representation for our country as a whole.
Now, as calls grow for Newsom to select the state's first ever Latino or Latina U.S. Senator, I spoke to a local leader who could be that historic selection.
Just feeling so much love.
A quien madruga, Dios le ayuda, says a Mexican proverb that means God helps those that rise early. So on this Friday at 9 a.m., early riser LA County Supervisor Hilda Solis is leading her team and LA Regional Food Bank workers in a food distribution event in Downey.
Today you're doing something because you know it's needed for our residents.
East LA residents that woke up early are indeed getting help in the form of food. Solis says that has become her most important role since the pandemic hit, ensuring that every resident has enough on the table.
So we're just trying to make their lives better, you know? That's really what it's about. And I'm so proud and privileged to be here to do this.
For Solis, this is personal. After all, she was born in LA and grew up to immigrant parents like many of her constituents.
My passion is about helping people. And I grew up in a very humble family, a daughter of immigrants, first one to go to college, but I'm very excited to be able to serve.
Service has been Solis' life for the last 3 decades. In the 90s at the state level as assembly member, afterwards as the first Hispanic woman to serve as a state senator. Then in the early 2000s as U.S. representative in Congress. In 2009, she became the first Latina to serve in the cabinet by becoming President Obama's Secretary of Labor. And now she's LA County Supervisor.
Hola!
And Solis could break another glass ceiling in the coming weeks by becoming the first Latina to represent California as a senator if Governor Newsom picks her to replace Vice President-elect Harris in the Senate.
That's not for me to, opine on right now. Right now, I'm doing my job.
More than 40% of our state's population is Hispanic. Supervisor Solis says it's about time Latinos get more representation.
We should have Latinos, Latinas, should also have at some point in time, I know, a governor, and hopefully a vice presidential candidate as well, or presidential candidate.
And so, just as she has done for the last 3 decades, Solis will keep rising early to help her community get through this once-in-a-lifetime pandemic.
Now, Governor Newsom has yet to announce who will fill Vice President-elect Harris's soon-to-be vacant seat. He has until January 20th, Inauguration Day, to make his decision. We'll see what happens. More than 66,000 people currently live on the streets of Los Angeles County, a number that is only expected to rise due to COVID-19. But as our Itay Hot reports, a new truck is becoming a driving force in the battle against homelessness, with a little soap and a smile.
Staying clean during a pandemic isn't easy, especially if you're homeless. I'm Itay Hot in downtown LA, where a new truck is delivering hope and a place to do laundry for those most in need.
Sometimes life can take an unexpected turn, one that leads you right where you need to be.
We're gonna line them up right in here.
8 months ago, Andre Ribeiro was an aspiring musician with dreams of becoming a rock star. But then the pandemic hit, and his gigs dried up overnight. He was having a hard time making ends meet when he got a job running the Laundry Truck LA, a free laundromat on wheels that cruises the city 7 days a week, washing, drying, and folding laundry for the homeless. At first, it was just a paycheck, but then it became so much more.
It's very rewarding. It brings that beautiful smile that they have back again.
Today, he's setting camp at MacArthur Park.
We get all kinds of people from different backgrounds and different scenarios. We have to be careful here because our surroundings can be challenging sometimes.
That's putting it mildly. Hundreds of people live here, with more arriving every day. The lucky ones have tents. Andre parks here about once a week for an 8-hour shift. Almost as soon as he puts out his sign that reads free laundry, people start to line up.
They usually take their clothes out of pretty much what they're wearing.
Laundry Truck LA has been operating for almost 2 years, but thanks to a recent donation from SoCal Gas, the organization was able to buy a second trailer just as the demand began to spike thanks to COVID-19.
Let me grab those two from you.
Andre does anywhere from 20 to 50 loads a day, treating every person as though they were a paying customer.
Perfect.
His favorite client is this man, Jean-Marie Lulendo. An immigrant from Congo, Jean-Marie was working as a security guard in a building nearby. Then the pandemic hit, and he lost his job, then his apartment. Soon he found himself living here on one of these benches. He still hasn't told his family back home he's been homeless.
Very lonely, yeah, very lonely. But you have to keep your head up.
The last few months, he says, have been rough. His only ray of hope, clean clothes once a week.
To me, it is very important to stay clean. Take a shower, have something clean on you, you really feel so good.
For Andre, it's been a stark reminder that even when things get tough, there's still plenty to be thankful for.
You're just like, wow, there's so much in life that sometimes take for granted. It's important to be aware of it, All right, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Finding a purpose during a dark time.
All right, take care.
By delivering fresh clothes along with a fresh start.
Wow, the power of a helping hand and some clean laundry. Staying on homelessness, 3,900, that's the number of homeless veterans identified in Los Angeles in the 2020 homeless count. Too many. And while that number is down dramatically from just a decade ago, veteran homelessness remains a huge issue in our communities. The transition from military service to normal civilian life is a difficult one. Each year, about 200,000 people make that transition out of the military. That's why one apprenticeship program is helping them translate skills they learned in the military into hands-on careers. Azarina Carzada has that story.
After spending 4 years in the U.S. Marine Corps, it was time for Jeremy Horton, a combat veteran, to forge a new path for his future.
When I got out of the military, it was a little bit harder. I was about 1 month out of Afghanistan when I transitioned out of the military, so it was a struggle.
Post-military, Jeremy, like many veterans, had to find a way to translate what he learned into a new career in civilian life. Through his experience in welding and the military, Jeremy connected with the local elevator constructors union. The organization provides an apprenticeship program that helps veterans like Jeremy learn how to construct, repair, and maintain elevator systems at no cost, an industry that is described to have about 29,000 jobs in 2019.
The apprenticeship was challenging intellectually, physically, mentally. It makes you think in a whole different way because elevators is not something that you just grow up knowing.
Jeremy is one of 400 veterans who have gone through the apprenticeship program that typically takes about 5 years to complete. It's a challenging and dangerous job that Anthony Gazaniga with IUEC Local 18 says can help veterans find and sustain a new skill set and career.
We do everything from carpentry to ironwork to electrical work. And these guys come out and they get these great skills that they can use. And it also uses their skills of problem solving, protecting the public.
This hands-on career has turned into a positive transition for Jeremy.
It means that I'm going to have a stable career, a challenging career, one that's forever evolving with technology.
It's an opportunity where Jeremy hopes he can continue to keep Americans safe, one lift at a time.
Thank you so much, Rena. We're going to go now to weather with Leah Friedman.
Overall, the weather not too bad for our weekend. We woke up to some dense fog in some portions along the coastline. Still looks a little hazy out there from Bolsa Chica, but still good amount of sunshine out there today. We do have some high clouds that have been streaming through the area, but again, temperatures are still warmer out there. Notice Big Bear, a lot of people out there. Bear Mountain actually open now, although you can see some of the snow is melted there at the base, but they are making some snow up in the higher elevations, and so it is open. You can get out on the slope. So as we head into our day tomorrow, we're going to notice more high clouds streaming through, although I don't think it's going to be quite as extensive as what we're seeing today, but still, again, the chance for some patchy low clouds at the coastline early tomorrow morning. Keep that in mind. And then similar story with the clouds, the fog starting off the mornings over as we head into the beginning of the work week. So this is all thanks to this area of low pressure sitting off the coast. That's going to move through as we head into Monday. That's where our temperatures are going to start to cool Sunday, and then especially on Monday. It's going to kick up our winds on Monday as well in those normal wind prone places, and then brief high pressure builds in on Tuesday, so we get a little bit of warming there, and then another stronger storm pushes in from the north. That one looks like it could bring us slight potential for a little bit of rain this far south, but it's really just going to bring us cooler temperatures as we head into our Thanksgiving holiday before we start to pick up winds once again, offshore winds, as we head into the end of the week. So a little bit of a roller coaster ride with our temperatures here. We're above average as we head into tomorrow, even though it'll be a little bit cooler than today. Notice Monday will be in the upper 60s in Pomona, slight warm up as we head into Tuesday, and then again, those temperatures drop off Wednesday and Thursday, and then warming again into the weekend. So again, roller coaster ride with those temperatures up and down the next couple of days, but as we head into tomorrow, our lows still going to be cool to start off the morning, 40s and 50s here across the board, some upper 50 or lower 50s, I should say, closer to the coastline where we could see some patchy fog once again tomorrow. Highs 60s remain at the coastline. Further inland, we're going to be seeing 70s again for most areas, upper 70s in some spots like Riverside, San Bernardino. Mountains are going to be into the upper 50s tomorrow. So slight cool down as we head into the start of the week. The coast are not going to notice it as much. 60s for most of the week ahead. I'm keeping a 10% chance in, though, for some drizzle Wednesday as well as Thursday. The basins, we're going to briefly warm to the 70s on Tuesday, but 60s again for most of the week ahead. It looks like Thanksgiving is going to be our coolest day of the next 7. Today, actually the warmest day. So again, roller coaster ride with the temperatures up and down a little bit, but keep in mind a slight chance for rain as we head into our Thanksgiving holiday with some cooler temperatures. So if you're heading out for plans that day, bring your jacket with you.
Plastic production is growing at a rapid rate and is expected to quadruple in the coming decades, which could lead to even more devastating consequences for marine life, our oceans, and of course, us. That's according to a new report released Thursday by the ocean advocacy organization Oceana. The report was compiled for the first time using data from agencies, organizations, and institutions showing marine mammals and sea turtles swallowing or becoming entangled in plastic. It's heartbreaking. Our Sarah Pila has that story.
This is Mookie, a California sea lion pup who just arrived at the Pacific Marine Mammal Center. She's getting an exam to determine why she's not doing well by Dr. Alyssa Deming, the center's director of clinical medicine.
So our patients that are like Mookie, that are coming in very malnourished and thin, basically need tube feedings, rehydration through subcutaneous fluids.
Dr. Deming says it's not uncommon for other sea lion pups like Mookie to arrive with a stomach filled with trash and plastic, like Ping, who suffered a deadly fate after his GI tract was perforated by plastic.
And that's often what they succumb to when they eat plastic, is a perforation of their GI tract or a blockage of their GI tract that kills them. So that's what happened to Ping. And this is a lot of trash for an animal that was probably under 25 pounds.
A first ever report by the world's largest ocean advocacy organization, Oceana, shows how pervasive the plastics crisis is in our nation's waters in ways we are only beginning to understand. They surveyed dozens of agencies, organizations, and institutions and found documented examples of almost 1,800 animals from 40 different species swallowing plastic or becoming entangled in it since 2009. Overwhelmingly, 88% of the animals in the report were listed as either endangered or threatened with extinction, something very eye-opening to Oceana scientist Dr. Kim Warner.
To find that this material that was only recently created by humankind is now threatening the survival perhaps of many of these endangered and threatened animals is a real concern.
Researchers at Oceana say the known cases reflected in this study are just a small sample of a much bigger problem. They estimate 15 million tons of plastic wash into the ocean every year. That's about 2 garbage trucks worth of plastic entering the ocean every minute.
The United States is the biggest producer of plastic debris and plastic waste in the world. And now we're ranked, I think, number 3rd in the world for how much of that leaks into the ocean. So we've got to own this problem.
Throughout his entire career, scientist Wallace J. Nichols has studied sea turtles. Over time, he saw more and more plastic inside these animals during necropsies. Oceana found documentation of nearly 900 sea turtles from all 6 species found in U.S. waters swallowed or became entangled in plastic since 2009. About a 5th of them were recently hatched turtles, just a few days to a few months old.
Even these young turtles, just these really small green turtles that we find with hundreds, if not thousands of pieces of plastic inside, it makes you sick. There should be 0 pieces of plastic inside wildlife.
The report makes it clear the problem of plastics in our waters is getting worse. Solving it will take action, policy change, and shifts in our behavior with dependence on single-use plastics like bottles and bags.
We have actually off-the-shelf solutions to many of our environmental problems. It's just creating the will, the personal and political will to put them into play.
Oceana's senior advisor, Alexandra Cousteau, yes, that Cousteau, the granddaughter of Captain Jacques Cousteau, calls most non-medical single-use plastics fundamental design flaws. She says reports like this can give policymakers and everyday consumers the needed information to make change.
Something that we use so briefly should live on in our environment for hundreds, if not thousands of years. We can address that. We can change that. We can design a solution for that. And if people ask for that and really insist that the brands that they love and the companies that they buy from find an alternative solution, I think that those companies will listen.
When plastic enters the ocean, it doesn't biodegrade, but rather breaks up into smaller pieces, eventually becoming microplastics. And those microplastics are found in every part of the marine food chain.
It comes back to us in the fish that we eat. It comes back to us in the trash on our beach and the impact that can have on tourism. It comes back to us in so many different ways. So it's important to feel empowered in these difficult moments.
As Dr. Deming works to heal the animals being cared for at the Pacific Marine Mammal Center, she hopes reports like Oceana's will inspire people to make different choices when it comes to single-use plastic.
Nature is already hard enough for them, trying to figure out how to find food and forage appropriately, get away from predators, and make babies. And then when you layer on things like having a ton of plastic that can be life-threatening in their environment, it can be a bit frustrating.
Currently, plastic production is only expected to grow. That's a trend these struggling populations of threatened marine mammals and sea animals cannot bear. It's going to take all of us, citizens, government, and companies, to figure out how best to break our single-use habits and dependence on plastic.
Still ahead, hate crimes are on the rise in Orange County, but these student filmmakers are doing their part to stop the hate.
The pandemic is impacting turkey sales. I'm Parker Collins in La Crescenta, and I'll tell you the one kind of turkey that's already sold out.
And did you know you can watch Spectrum News 1 on the go? Just download the Spectrum News app from the App Store or Google Play. We'll keep you informed on the latest news, weather, and the kind of storytelling you can only get from us right here at Spectrum News 1.
We know them as fierce competitors. Now, Spectrum News 1 takes an in-depth look into their world beyond competition. From the personal to the inspiring, beyond the lights, and into the hearts of our communities. Each week, we'll bring you the stories of the men and women that transcend the game. Beyond the Sport, every Friday at 9 on Spectrum News 1.
I think if you really want to get to know Southern California, you just need to spend a little time in these different communities. You'll really get a sense of the distinct personalities. As somebody who's worked in California most of my adult life, I feel a real connection to it. Our duty is to serve the audience. One of the great things about having all of these people who have roots in California at Spectrum News 1 is that we can provide context that's invaluable insight to news. I'm Lisa McCree, anchor, Spectrum News 1.
Your evening on Spectrum News 1 is everything you want to know all in one place. Even though we have these big professional sports teams in LA, we also have a lot of local teams, and I think it's important that we get their perspective and their stories of all the things that are happening in the sports world. We all have our lanes in which we're experts and lanes that we're really passionate about, but we still make sure the show is about you. I think we bring a different perspective to your local and daily news, and I think it's something that you definitely will want to be a part of. Join us every evening, only here on Spectrum News 1.
LA Stories is this amazing half-hour show with people who are really making a difference in Los Angeles.
I'm going to be an Angelino till the day I die.
I love the opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with them so we can get into the inner workings of their mind and understand what drives them. Where's the limit?
There is no limit. I just started a record company.
I get a chance to meet people who inspire, and that's what LA Stories is.
Watch LA Stories, Mondays at 9 on Spectrum News 1, exclusively on Spectrum.
Introducing the new Spectrum News app, stories that matter to you, now wherever you are. Download the all-new Spectrum News app, your community connection.
Last year, we lost 51 people to hate crimes. That's double 2018's number, according to the FBI's annual hate crime statistics report released earlier this week. If we look at 2020 so far, hyper-locally, a new report from the OC Human Relations Commission also show hate crimes are up in Orange County. Jo Kwon looked into how students are combating pandemic hatred through media.
The camera is ready. The producer Morgan Ang is making some final adjustments.
There. Can we have you 2 steps closer?
Sound check.
Slate. And action.
Serious business on this set because these OC School of the Arts students are filming a scene about a serious topic, racism. Morgan says the scene he wrote in this screenplay is about an Asian American teen confronted by a woman saying racist things. He says it was inspired by real life situations.
Some of my friends, they're very, very casual about, making some racist jokes or making something that's culturally inappropriate. And I really don't like that, so that's why I'm making this video.
The video will be Morgan's submission for a contest called To Know Better. The OC Human Relations Commission kicked off the competition, asking middle and high school students in the county to submit videos that promote cultural acceptance. It's part of a new anti-hate initiative started after the commission released its latest hate crimes report. The report found for the 5th year in a row, hate crimes have increased in OC, increasing 24% last year compared to 2018. The commission says the pandemic has added to the issue for at least one group. It says 34 incidents of prejudice against Asian Americans in OC were reported between March 19th and April 15th of this year alone.
You might not even realize it, but I believe that this campaign will help bring awareness and help bring knowledge.
That's why Morgan says creating this video is more of an opportunity than about entering a contest.
My message overall is to sort of be aware of your actions and be aware of your thoughts.
In this scene, the protagonist is played by classmate Grace Gilchrist.
And I say a lot of really bad and racist things.
Things like this.
Well, if anything, she's from China. You should ask her to leave.
The other character explains she's American, and this is her home. Grace says playing someone who's racist was uncomfortable.
But I think it's a good experience because everybody needs to learn about this.
A teachable moment. Morgan says that's the main goal in creating this video with the help of his friends.
I know everyone makes mistakes and everyone has the ability to grow.
And Morgan says he hopes people who see his video will do as he was raised, to think before they speak or act.
That's a cool project. The OC Board of Supervisors will choose the winners, who will each receive a $5,000 grant to further similar initiatives. You can watch the submissions on KnowBetter2020.com. Now let's get over to Leah with our final check of weather.
Well, the weather's staying nice for Sunday. Still going to be a little bit warmer than what we're used to this time of year. That means 60s still along the coastline. Further inland, mid to upper 70s in some spots, even a few 80s out there. Palm Springs, high of 84 tomorrow. Santa Clarita will be at 80. But it's downtown LA in the lower 70s, mid 70s, closer to some of the OC basin spots. So heading into tomorrow, it will be slightly cooler than today, but that's still above average for this time of year. So Camarillo, we're 2 degrees above average. Fullerton, only 3 degrees above average. In Ontario, we're into the upper 70s, so 6 degrees above average there. But 70s across the board this time of year, not too bad across the area. So a little bit of a fluctuation, though, with our temperatures over the next 7 days. A little bit cooler for the start of the week. Slight warming on Tuesday, but notice Wednesday and Thursday are Thanksgiving holiday. Are going to be some of the coolest days, especially on Thursday. So you're going to look forward to a mostly dry day, but keep in mind, you're going to want to take the jackets with you for any Thanksgiving plans. I'll toss it back to you.
Thanksgiving celebrations will look a lot different this year. Health experts and leaders strongly advise against gathering with people outside of our households. And starting tonight, a statewide curfew goes into effect at 10 p.m. This time of year is usually the most profitable for turkey farms. But this year, farmers fear that with many opting for smaller gatherings, they're going to want smaller turkeys. Our Parker Collins went to Harmony Farms in La Crescenta, where business might take a hit this year.
This is the latest shipment of turkeys in La Crescenta. I'm Parker Collins, learning how the coronavirus and the pandemic are impacting sales in a big way. It's the busiest of times and the most stressful of times. Sonny Cabrales started at Harmony Farms years ago, part-time, cleaning the floors. Now he owns the place, and his son, Homero, helps.
Well, I'm worried because, like I said, we weren't sure if was going to be a good year because of Corona. So now we're seeing that everybody is getting small turkeys. And we're a little nervous because we don't have that many.
They had to place their order for turkeys in March, before they knew how bad this pandemic would get. They ordered 1,500 turkeys because that worked for them the year before. So far, they've already run out of the smallest size turkey, most likely because everyone's celebrations will be smaller this year.
That's a beautiful turkeys, little ones.
That's certainly the case for Sheila Dunbar. Normally, she'd be cooking for more than 20 people. This year, she's looking for the smallest possible bird, maybe even just a leg and a breast.
I feel sad because Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday of the year. It's his favorite holiday of the year because it's all about just getting together with loved ones and enjoying food together.
Sheila put her name on the pre-order list. She'll be back the day before Thanksgiving to pick up. While this year's sales are lagging, there's always the hope of a last-minute rush. But just being near family is what the holiday is about.
It's one of the best things in life, that's for sure. I like to get yelled at by him. If someone's gonna yell at me, I'd rather it be my father. Yes, sir. I'm very lucky.
And that's something to be thankful for.
I love that. We hope you have a safe Thanksgiving in the week ahead. It's been a rough year for many, so we hope that you'll join us in finding gratitude in the good things that still surround us. And that'll do it for this edition of Your Weekend on Spectrum News 1. Every Saturday, I'll be right here sharing your stories and showcasing what makes living here so wonderful. If you have a comment for me or you just want to say hello, reach out on social media. I love hearing from you guys. My handle is right here on your screen. We're going to leave you with a look out at Huntington Beach from Saturday afternoon, courtesy of surfline.com. And I'll see you back here next Saturday at 5. It's a date.
With all of the different scenes that Southern California has to offer, there's only one place that brings them all together, and it's the SoCal Scene. Join our Melvin Robert for the ultimate insider's guide to arts, culture, events, and entertainment all across Southern California. The SoCal Scene, hosted by Melvin Robert, Wednesdays at 9 on Spectrum News 1, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum News, we're striving to help rebuild communities by bringing you the latest news from your team of local journalists. Stories that matter to you, now, wherever you are. Introducing the new Spectrum News app. Refreshing storytelling, at home or on the go, exclusively for Spectrum customers. All easily accessible with the touch of a finger. Providing the information you need to make better, more informed decisions across the places we call home. Download the all-new Spectrum News app, available on the App Store and Google Play. Spectrum News, your community connection.
Los Angeles is the reason that my family exists. I met my wife in Silver Lake. My baby was born in downtown Los Angeles. She's a musical child, which it makes sense because we're a very musical family, and we all get to live in this community that gives so much back to us. Being a journalist is being a storyteller. There's a vulnerability that you express that taps into the vulnerability in other people. Spectrum News One is engaging and sustaining a conversation that you don't find anymore. I am Amrit Singh, anchor, Spectrum News One.
Hi, I'm Alex Cohen. I am back on your airwaves with a brand new podcast called SoCal in 17. Every Friday, we're going to bring you 17 minutes of give or take interviews with newsmakers and news observers. It's going to be politics, education, transportation, housing, a little bit of flavor, lots of news, not a whole lot of time.
It's SoCal in 17. New episodes from Friday mornings, available wherever you listen to podcasts. Also available on the Spectrum News app.